again. We are here at round number 3. Electric Boogaloo. Where did that download go? Shizers. There we go. All right, we are watching Mike Harris versus Christopher Baviello. God, I hope I pronounced that right. Baviello. We are going to take a look here going into round number 2. Fran, first off, how you doing today?
I've been better. I got COVID a couple of days ago, so I'm getting over that.
Are you
I
at
didn't
least
know
feeling
COVID
okay?
was still a thing. Apparently it is.
It still is, absolutely.
Still very much a thing, but I'm feeling much better now.
That's
it
good.
was rough. Honestly, it wasn't even that rough. It was just, like some body aches and stuff, but getting over it now.
Absolutely.
So I can't complain too much.
Well, I am glad you're here. So we are gonna try and get things going here, as best as we can. We appreciate all of you, by the way, in chat, sticking with us as we work out all the kinks on game day. So first off, you guys are all amazing people. I want you to know that. We're gonna try and get guest commentators in here as best as we can. You guys are awesome. We are recording. All right, cool. Sorry, I'm rambling. So I really wish we could have seen you out here, though, Fran. Next year, it's going to happen. I don't care what it's going to happen.
I'll try my best. I'll try my best.
We'll figure out a way. I think we got the team spirit. We'll find a way. We are at 200 viewers right now. We have had amazing support, lots of subscribers coming up, and more followers. Yeah. We are almost at 900 followers for Andrew here on the OG Kurt Ape, or OS Kurt Ape channel. So, guys, if you are listening, subscribe. Follow. Anything that you subscribe to us with goes directly to making these streams better. Without further ado, you've got the stream up there for you. Is that working well on your end, Fran, as far as kind of seeing things going?
Yeah, this looks great, and I'm especially excited to commentate on this match because Mike is playing a deck very near and dear to my heart, so
yep. And we can spoil
very
it here.
Excited to check it out.
Yep. So Mike Harris decided he was going to be spicy today because he's been dealing with lots of cool real life stuff, and he is on Aluren today, and he said, no, we're going to go ahead and O2 it. We're going to come on in. We're going to do the commentary, but no, he's 2-0. Mike Harris is 2-0.
And he's playing a variant that is Dancing Academy, right?
I don't know, honestly. I have not seen all of it. I thought he'd be on Dance Party.
I don't know.
Maybe. I thought he was on. He said he was on Aluren. I could be wrong.
Oh, it's Aluren. It's just a question.
So he's been working. I'm a member of the
we got a portent.
Yep, we got a portent.
The Feb Discord, which hasn't been talking that much Feb lately, to be honest. It's been mostly the other Combo Decks Discord. And Mike has been toying with both of those decks, and I last I heard he had there it goes. Yeah, it is Aluren. So This is actually a deck that I have been working a lot on over the past, I want to say, year and a half or something, and I got it finally to a nice spot. Mike was very excited about it. He found it very enjoyable. He basically has been trying the deck out on what's the name of the? It's not MTGO. It's X-Mage or Corpatrized or whatever.
One of those things. Yep.
Yeah, one of the other ones. And he's been telling me that he's been winning a lot, and he's been enjoying the deck as well. So he's trying it out, and I am very excited to get to see what he's up to. And it looks like he is against Landstill.
That was my first guess for White Blue Stifle.
He played a portent and then a fetch. So is he on Stifle?
Yeah, but I thought I saw a Prohibit. That is what made me think.
Okay,
spicy.
We are gonna
maybe it is Stifle Knot.
We're just gonna have to guess and be surprised as we go.
Yep.
This is pretty great for Mike. Like if this is indeed Stifle Knot and Chris is wasting a counterspell, which is extremely valuable in the matchup, on a Spike Feeder, if I'm Mike, I am ecstatic about that interaction. I would have been super sad if the Spike Feeder got dazed or something like that, but the fact that we baited out like an actual counterspell is huge because the Aluren deck actually has so many problematic cards for the Stifle Knot deck. There's Octavio Orangutan, there's what's his name? the Mana War, which the
Yep.
deck
Oh,
actually
yep,
plays
yep, yep.
a bunch of copies of. So yeah, the counter spells are actually going to be quite taxed. So yeah, very very interesting to see Christopher just using. Maybe he's just compelled to use his mana because he has nothing going on. He's just trying to put the combo together still.
Yep. And let's make the fact that you are perfect at this because these are like two of your favorite decks playing
Yeah.
against each other. That is
I
a
spent
that
a
is a,
lot of time working on both of these. Yeah,
There
is
was
this
a prohibit.
is this a flippy thing? Maybe what is this?
yeah.
I mean,
There's
the
the prohibit.
The prohibit
Yeah,
is freaking me out.
Yeah, that's very surprising to me. So we may just be talking about simply some sort of like weird version of last. Yeah, second planes basically rules out Stifle Knot from the equation.
Okay, so we're not at Stifle Knot. We're going back
Yeah,
to
Stifle Knot
Blue White
cannot afford
Mystery.
to play.
I definitely like his choice of lands, the DCI ones from way back.
All right.
Yeah, those arena lands are just fantastic.
All right.
Raven Familiar. So this is something very nice here, right? So Mike is just putting this Raven Familiar on the stack, and it's very unassuming, right? So like you're like, yeah, I'm just gonna let it resolve. It's just going to, first of all, it cantrips, so it just replaces itself, which is pretty great. Second of all, it's just going to sit there, and that is effectively a combo piece. So now Mike has one less thing that that he needs to assemble in order to put the entire thing together. So yeah, sure, he's going to spend his upcoming turn paying for upkeep, and then that is obviously not great. But the fact that he gets to do this, and now it's like, okay, cool. Now I don't need to worry about that part of the combo. That part of the combo is already assembled, and now it's just a matter of figuring out and finding the other pieces that he's missing. So that's a very unassuming thing that just happened, but it's going to be quite important.
Exactly. And Aluren among the decks, at least in my opinion, that is so resilient to a lot of things that kill combo decks because it has so many lines. We saw a little bit of that, when Caleb Durward was playing it in Madison. Like it was called, bug, garbo, trash, whatever, because it was just beating down with creatures, which is. And Fran, is that a decent game plan when all else fails with deck? Is like you just beat with like 1/1s and 2/2s?
Yes, and this is a big part of the game plan right here. Spike Feeder is deceptively powerful because what it does. Oh my god, is that swamp?
No, it's what?
What
No,
is
they're islands.
that?
So he cast Armageddon.
Right, so
He cast Armageddon?
Or, sorry, Wrath of God.
that's a
of God.
wrath.
Okay.
No, but that's a basic swamp though. So we have some like Esper shenanigans.
Oh, that
going
is
on?
a bad. That is.
That's
Okay.
pretty sick.
Okay. All right.
All
So
right, this is exciting.
our first little bit of glare, I'll fix on our next
be-
round.
That'd be BUW.
Yeah. Absolutely. So
That's very cool. So yeah, this is going to be a very interesting matchup. Sorry about that. I just
Oh,
kicked
you're
something.
good. You're good.
This is going to be a super interesting matchup then.
Mike's back at
'cause
21.
We have a lot of
Feeder.
stuff going on that is just very much out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
So love to see that.
Another portent.
Another portent happening.
That's a big problem though. Like the fact that now Christopher is starting to pull ahead a little bit. That is going to be pretty problematic for Mike. So he's gonna need to figure out a way to get back into the game and not fall too far behind.
Yeah. And while does Mike's version is he sans black, so there are no therapies to kind of clear the way? It looks like no therapies or duresses.
Looks like Chris has got a.
There's no therapies. No, this is just straight up banned. And the idea for the deck is to minimize. First of all, make your mana as good as possible, which is very challenging in Bug. Trust me, I tried.
I believe it.
a lot. I tried a lot. It kind of doesn't work. So the fact that now we get to just play a straight banned mana base with bunch of basics, basic forest and plains, and Gerard's Verdict, that's a big deal.
Yeah, that's Chris is rapidly starting to gain an upper hand with mana and his spells, and it's not looking great for Mike at the moment.
Yeah, it's starting to look a little bit rough for Mike. I think it's going to be if I were Mike, I think I would pack it up right about here. I guess I would like to see a win condition.
Right, see how it's really going to actually finish out the game.
Because I want to know if I need to be thinking about Decree. I want to know if I need to be thinking about Exalted Angel, because that's obviously going to change pretty dramatically how he sideboards. But I think that it's going to be like I struggle to see a way that Mike can get out of this unless, I mean, there's two cards in Christopher's hands. If both of them are just blanks, maybe he can get out of this.
I think I
But
saw
it seems,
Tog, maybe.
seems pretty unlikely.
All right, so that's an Aluren trying to come down. And Aluren resolves, by the way.
Yeah, so the thing about resolving Aluren is it doesn't really do that much. It just sits there.
Okay.
And the idea for pulling it out is mostly just because it's 4 mana. And you already saw Gerard's Verdict, so getting the Aluren out of your hand sounds pretty good.
That makes sense.
But this is, now with Fact or Fiction getting, we're starting to see how, now Christopher is really pulling ahead.
Yeah.
And it's going to be really challenging for...
If he has a Tog, he's got a full graveyard coming in.
So are we comfortable calling this just like Esper control or blue, black, white control at this point?
So far, that's how it's acting.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it looks like. So
Yeah.
I mean, go with that. Yeah.
So, Fact or Fiction piles are just interesting when playing a deck like just the things that he has to pick. So it looks like he picked up a Wrath of God and another Fact.
Yep.
It looks like.
Which makes sense to me. Foff is kind of the card that he wants there. I don't think the Wrath is going to matter that much.
He's got mana for the Fact.
Right.
It's more of a matter of he wants to have access to the second Fact or Fiction, since the first one didn't quite deliver. Because right now the Aluren is in play, and
wow,
I don't like this play at all. Okay, but now we know. You see this? This is why. Exactly. So now he knows that he doesn't need to worry about Decree, and he definitely wants to keep the Mana Wars. But yeah, so playing out that squee, I think it's a pretty bad mistake. Like, your opponent doesn't have a counterspell, and now if you top deck Survival, you're gonna feel very, very silly.
By the way, Rainbow Efreet spotted.
Yeah. Yep.
That's amazing.
I haven't seen that for a while.
This is kind of like the idea behind building the deck in this way. Like, a Survival of the top means that Mike straight up wins.
Correct.
Thanks to this squee, right?
Yes.
So playing out the squee is a pretty major misplay here. Like, obviously the 1/1 is not going to deal 17 points of damage.
Yeah.
And he has no way to sacrifice this squee. So if I am...
He sorts the squee.
Yeah, now this is an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
And Mike just gets extremely punished for that for that play.
Got a morph.
Yeah.
Which he knows.
So
likely the
Angel coming down. But yeah, no, Fran, I agree with you. Unless his version somehow runs 2 squeeze, which I can't imagine it does.
Just Cassian.
Opening that up, taking away that outlet for Survival makes it really rough. But at this point, if you're Mike, are you still fighting the good fight, or are you packing this in?
I would pack it in. I mean, I guess you can let your opponent resolve this and get a peek, but the game is now Mike cannot win anymore.
Yeah.
He's 0% to win, and he definitely wants to make sure that he has time to win both games 2 and 3. So unless he's actively playing for a draw, which I think wouldn't make sense this early in the tournament, right. I think that this is now the time to pack it up.
Yeah.
And this split right here, I think, is counterspell versus everything else. Like, the only way you win is by comboing, and counterspell is the only way that actually stops your combo here.
Yeah. I don't know about giving him lands plus the counter.
Yeah. It's counterspell versus everything else. Counterspell is the only card that matters.
Okay, so he's split it up. He's going to give him the free land and the counterspell. He takes the counterspell, of course.
Yeah. I think, that's you're just giving your opponent a land. Again, it doesn't matter. Like, Mike can't win anymore. But it's more of a matter of maybe Mike wanted to touch the arena basic, which I respect.
I mean, you have to.
He just wanted to handle it, just...
Exactly. Got to take what we can get, touch the grass, as it were. But no, Chris is really just. This is what And this strategy for the blue, black, white control deck, whatever you want to call it, it's just such a good pairing. It's got a layer land, which I hope he's playing with the layer land, the Dromare's Cavern. Underplayed cards, but like once it gets going with the answers it has available, like it's really hard to stop. There's just not a lot of things that compare with it. So he's just in a great position here. I agree with you. Yeah, we'll get it. So Chris is at 25. Mike is at 12. Exalted Angel doing work. Is there any way Mike comes out of this, you think, Fran, especially with that squeak on?
Not with the counterspell in hand, though.
Okay.
So he would need to, I guess, draw familiar into familiar.
Yep.
And then familiar would need to... So you play the first familiar, it gets countered. Then you top deck another familiar and you cast it. This one resolves, and then this familiar actually allows you to go off. So the nice thing about having the Aluren in play already is that you don't need to worry about mana. So cards like Mana Leak don't matter. It's most of a matter of the way that the deck is built. It can go from there. From here, it can go the distance. Like a single familiar off the top means that familiar can find Mana War, which is redraws.
Yep.
And if he ever finds the Harpy, he actually just gets to go off and win.
That makes sense.
So another option would be to go to draw Meddling Mage and just sandbag it all the way until you can Meddling Mage to name Counterspell. That would be another way to go about it. But I think Chris has a Wrath. I'm not super sure about that, but I would just scoop it
Chris
here.
has got
Just
one
to...
in hand, a Wrath and a counter.
Yeah, this is I mean, it's not pretty for Mike. That's all. That's the be all end all of that.
Yeah. Mike, I don't think Mike can win anymore.
Gotcha. All right, but Mike is putting in the good fight. We know Mike. He likes playing the game, and he's going for it. This is an Angel and a Morphling coming in. Very rarely do you get to see both of these guys together, to be fair. So a casual 32-5 is where we're at.
I know Christopher definitely came here to win the Spice.
Absolutely.
The Spice prize.
I mean,
This win condition, the selection of win cons is just spot on.
agreed.
So, definitely.
Is that another fact he's resolved?
Yep.
Stop the pain.
Oh,
So another
Trauma
sword
charm.
vindicate.
Hell yeah.
Is that a mist?
that's a charm.
Oh, that's a charm. Oh my
That's one.
god.
Yeah, Trevor charm. or not
That's a
Trevor,
Dromare's charm?
This
Wow.
is expired.
Good lord. Just give it to me now. Give it to me now is what I'm saying.
All right, there we go.
All right,
Rocking
scooping
it
in. Chris, Mike says, okay, the charm was enough. That's all I needed to see.
I know, right? That put it over the top. Can't beat that one.
Nope, not at all. Okay, so talk to me sideboarding if you're Mike. You know what the game plan is. You've seen it. How are we combating it?
Yeah, so the cards Mike is going to be interested in are going to be, I don't know exactly Mike's list, but I do like bringing in, if he has, hopefully has Silver Labyrinth in the main deck. If he has more in the sideboard, he definitely wants those. Then there's the potential of playing more Mana Wars. If he has them, those are going to be good against the Christopher's win condition choice. What else? We saw discard spells. If there are more meddling mages, you probably want to bring them in for Sword to Plushers. The key thing is that you want to get rid of your bad cards. So like we saw that Mike drew 1 or 2 Swords to Plushers that game, which did absolutely nothing. So stuff like that he definitely wants to get rid of. And then I don't know if he has like stuff like Octavi Orangutan. He may need to hold on to the Octavi because of the potential of Curse Totem. Because Mike actually cannot win with a Curse Totem in play.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's obviously a problem. But yeah, besides that, I don't know how much more stuff Mike will have access to.
Right. And Chris also in some colors, now turning to him, obviously the spice is real here. We don't know what's going on fully, but he's in a set of colors that has a lot of ways to combat what Mike is doing if he wants to. What could we assume is maybe coming in like from Chris? Now, we haven't seen a meddling mage, but in theory, he could maybe even have meddling mages in the board. more discard, disenchants, annuls. What do we think?
I think you want more disenchants. He actually saw survival, which is kind of a big deal. If he has access to cards like Phyrexian Furnace, that can also be
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, no, I can see it.
But that's really about it. Like, I don't think there's much else that he cares about.
So there's a very important area of this of if something is happening with survival and Aluren, when you can interact to disrupt what Mike is doing. At what points, Fran, can they interact with what Mike is doing to disrupt his combo? At what?
It's actually very tricky because the whole point of Aluren is the power of Aluren resides precisely on how difficult it is to interact once the combo is in place. So basically, once the combo is in place, the only way to interact, realistically speaking, is by interacting with the Aluren itself. So you can't really interact with the creatures because if Mike plays his cards correctly, which I think he will, the way that it works is you play the Cavern Harpy first, and then you have the bounce any other creature trigger going on the stack as soon as you do that, right? So you have a trigger going on the stack, and then you play the Raven Familiar.
Right.
Then what happens is your opponent has now the chance to do something. So you say, okay, I have a Raven Familiar trigger. Do you want to do something? If your opponent attempts to use a removal spell on the Raven Familiar, what's going to happen is you can pay 1 life to bounce the Harpy, which is currently in play with the bounce trigger on the stack. You pay 1 life, and then you get to cast it again, because Aluren allows you to do everything at instant speed.
Right. Gotcha. All right, so we are shuffling up here for game number 2. Chris up 1 game on Mike Harris. Sweet blue, black, white control versus Aluren. Should be an awesome match. McLean, we do not have a match timer, so I would assume we're probably at least 15 minutes into the round or so.
Sounds about right.
Well, I kind of have it because I started the recording, so we're probably 15 to 18 minutes into the round. Fran does know his way around a Harpy. There's no lies there. Starting off with a reflecting pool from Mike Harris. That's awkward. But we don't see a portent coming from Chris. Portent doesn't seem like it would be the card in this blue, black, white control deck. That one's throwing me a little bit. I mean, I understand it's good, but it's like, do you want that instant or that sorcery speed slow trip in a deck like this?
I think the biggest value comes from the fact that your mana is probably what you need to make work.
Sure.
And Portent allows you to do that very nicely.
Okay, there's a survival turn too. Andrew, you've been at this format a lot since the beginning. Tell me a little bit about the evolution of various Aluren decks that you've seen throughout your time here.
I'm trying. Most of the ones I've seen are just sort of the stock deck. I'm trying to think if I've seen anywhere where they've gone to some kind of variant that they feel is a better line. The portents could be in there for decks, for opponents where hitting them with the portent effect could be beneficial. But that doesn't feel like it's necessarily the right card for
this.
Like, he might have pulled it out and replaced with something else, depending on what he's got.
Yeah. And we have Mike Harris here. His mana's on point. He was resolving the survival of the fittest. There's a meddling mage. What do you name with meddling mage here, guys?
I think you probably named Swords to Plowshares.
Well, it got countered, so we'll never know.
But this is good because you saw Vindicate, right? So
Yes.
if Chris is actually going over and fetching an island, that means that he's not going to have access to Vindicate mana, which makes it that less likely that your survival gets answered. So it's pretty small, but I think it's actually a big deal that this happened in this fashion.
Okay. Both of these decks are so outside of my range. I just don't like people to untap, so I'm letting you guys tell me what's up.
Sure.
It's life is so much easier when they don't untap. It's just the truth. But the early survival has to be key in this matchup. Being able to force that through with it not being destroyed as of yet, which has to be a fantastic thing.
Yeah, you definitely love to see it.
I agreed. And I wonder also, Chris is not a name I recognize. That does not mean anything about a player's caliber, just so everyone is aware. But I do not know if he is familiar with how this deck operates. So I'm not sure. Maybe I'm going to be interested to see how much he values, like, leaving the survival on the board. And I wonder if he knows, like, this is a thing. It needs to go away. Like, it's not a choice. That needs to go away.
Yeah, it's one of the powers of this deck, right? It's the fact that you are kind of not a known quantity, so you do get a little bit of value for that. And we see a little bit of the awkwardness in Chris's mana bait coming back to bite him a little bit. So we do see that he has Source of Plowshares in hand, and I think I also saw a Vindicate. So now he's in a spot where, okay, I can either Source of Plowshare something, or I can just Vindicate this survival. And it looks like he's going to choose to, I guess, do neither.
Yeah, I mean, he's sitting with that Vindicate in his hand, and this is where I don't know if he understands what trouble he might be in. I don't think he knows.
It's possible. Clearly, he sees that Mike is starting to accrue some pretty serious value. So if he didn't know up till here, he definitely knows now that he needs to deal with that survival.
Yeah, this survival is the no bueno time right now, is what that is.
Yep.
Mike Harris is down to 17, so not a lot of damage happening here. It's going to be big chunks when it does. It's mostly fetch lands and pain lands at the moment.
He's getting another mage.
He's getting another mage. You have to say that Mike is in the driver's seat at the moment, without question.
It feels like so. It feels like so. The most important thing for Mike here is to hit land drops. So if he relies on creatures to be his mana producers, it could be problematic if, obviously if they get Wrath away. So I think that there's a lot of value in making sure that you can, that after you get Wrath, you are able to recoup all your stuff a lot quicker. So I feel like that is the big deal. So
Right.
I do understand going to get Meddling Mage here. I think you name Source to Plowshares and you assume that your opponent doesn't have white.
Okay. It is. I saw it in the channel. Is
Active
Counterspell a worthwhile name to fight through the permission you might have, or because he has Prohibit, maybe in Nulls, it's not even worth trying to fight the actual permission itself?
Now I guess that's a Japanese drummer's charm. So
Okay.
Mike is asking whether what the card actually does.
Oh God, this is why we come. By the way, somebody put. I think you have it in your Twitch, Andrew. Somebody do the exclamation point. However the heck we search up Dromir's charm, because I don't remember what it does.
Someone on chat has
Somebody chat. Somebody use there it is. Card. Instant. Choose one. You gain 5 life. Counter target spell. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. Yeah, that's the perfect answer to a meddling mage.
Yep.
Yeah, it's very inefficient, which I think Mike is okay with.
That's fair.
And I don't think Mike cares too much about this Exalted Angel, because he can just go get Mana War whenever he so desires.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's I'm surprised that I feel like Chris has missed some land drops. I'm surprised he's putting both the lands with the counterspell right there.
yeah, especially because Counterspell is the most mana efficient card. Like now, if he does take the Counterspell, he can go Vindicate something, hold Counterspell mana up.
Yeah,
which
think
is quite bad for Mike. But he can go get if the survival gets vindicated. This is one of the beauties of having a nice clean mana base, is the fact that now, if that's the case, what Mike can do is he can use the Wall of Roots with the Vindicate on the stack, and he can pitch any creature to go get Oromancer.
Yeah,
and that can get back the survival.
Got ya.
Do we know what was the mage set to? Do you have any idea? Oh, there we go. He just wrote it. Counter spell.
It is on counter spell.
Is that what that says?
Ah, okay.
Maybe
That makes a lot of
not.
sense then.
Or does that?
What does it say?
I can't tell. Counter
Yeah,
spell.
Wrath of God.
That's counter spell. Oh, it's on
Wrath.
Wrath
Oh,
of
it
God.
named Wrath?
Really?
Really?
Well, that sword.
Instead of Swords to Plowshares, that's very surprising to me.
Okie doke. That's one dead meddling mage.
Yeah.
Okay, we are.
I guess that because Chris was slow rolling his Swords to Plowshares so much, and correctly so, there's nothing that he wanted to Swords to Plowshares quite yet. He just assumed, oh, okay, he doesn't have Swords to Plowshares, and I can do something else instead.
Gotcha.
This is big game though.
That's a that's not a vindicate. That's a Gerard's verdict. And
Yeah.
and
Wog's
Mike's hand
definitely
is
the
a
right name.
spicy hand of stuff he wants all of it. So looks like a
Zugtab.
Uktabi and a. Can't tell what that blue card was that went into the brain. Was that a brain freeze?
That's a Raven familiar.
That's a Raven familiar.
Yep.
I was about to say that's not
Yeah.
a brain freeze. I want it to be a brain freeze. I've seen, and this is probably a weird one. I've seen an Aluren deck with a brain freeze out of the board, just as an alternate kill, because you can just play all your spells over and over. So I don't know if
Yeah.
that's worthwhile, but it's fun.
There's another mage.
I don't understand pitching the Raven there. Like, Raven is actually pretty great value for Mike.
This is end of turn, right? Chris turn.
Yeah.
Because you'd have the squee back already otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. So that you're not
Yep.
pitching squeeze, so
Here comes squee.
it's a little bit awkward. I mean, Mike must have some sort of plan that we are not aware of.
I would agree. I feel like he's got to be able to find something to put together here.
Is there something weird in the deck, like a Genesis or something?
Meddling mage again. What is he gonna name?
Yep. Wrath.
Wrath of God. He is really focused on Wrath of God not resolving.
And the old timers.
Yeah, that's pretty
going
surprising to
Wog,
me.
which is
So
easier name.
what could be the reason? Is his hand a little weird and he wants some creatures to start beating it and he values all the creatures he has highly somehow?
I know I saw one card in his hand, but I don't know if he's got Aluren.
Oh, you know what? Robin makes a very good point here to a certain extent. Mike is still low on mana, so his mana sources are Bird and Wall of Root. So a Wrath of God takes a lot of mana sources out, possibly. That's an interesting point. What do you think about kind of that, Fran, in your experience with that consideration?
Yeah, it's
No, I mean,
40%.
it makes sense. It's just a matter of you also kind of really care about the Swords to Plowshares. The Swords to Plowshares is actually pretty problematic as well.
Gotcha. Again, I don't want to think this hard. All right, so 16 to 19. Chris on top here in game number 2. Vindicating the survival. Chuck a bird out of there.
What would you go for at this point, Raven?
I feel like he's got to start putting something together here. What is the
Oh,
Oromancer? Oromancer, get back my survival.
Yeah, there we go.
There it is. It's starting to come together.
I mean, it's that counterspell that Mike gave him alongside the 2 lands is still coming back to bite him.
Yeah, I mean, at one point, I think Chris has to take that counterspell there. It's just I don't think you can give him the lands with the counterspell.
Yeah, that's more of the issue. Is like giving you could do something like giving him the counterspell and the angel or something like. The thing is, like, the angel doesn't matter whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, is more figuring out the rest.
Yeah, and here's a point too. At the point where that happened, Chris was on 4 lands, so that means the 2 lands he gave him, he's only drawn like that polluted delta, to really as his only natural thing that wasn't given to him. So that really helped him get his mana correct. Yeah, so I don't know. That was interesting.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's interesting because both decks are kind of in a situation where they have access to the advantage of not being known quantities.
Mm-hmm.
So both are getting some value by the fact that their opponents don't really know kind of what they're
There's the
doing.
Wrath.
And there's the Wrath going ahead and clearing off this board.
Yeah, those 40+% of his mana production was those creatures.
Yeah, now it seems pretty tough for Mike to come back from this.
All right, guys. We're going to have a special guest joining as well to hop in some more in just a second. A voice you may be familiar with. Should be popping up shortly. But in any case, match still going on. That Wrath of God really clearing out mana sources.
Does he have to learn?
Mike has gone ahead and found some more mana. Got another survival going. We'll have to see, guys. We'll see when the chat likes us and what it tells us, etc., etc., etc. I have so many screens open, I'm trying to remember what's on what. Fran, so do you think, is this now just slipping away from Mike, or does now that we've resolved the survival, he can keep pushing through? If that makes
With
sense.
a survival in play, we continue to play.
Okay.
Right?
Yep,
so it's not quite as easy. But we at least get the, we keep playing this game. It's just kind of awkward that, we're in a situation where we really need the survival to do a lot of work. And we are like one counterspell away from being in a lot of trouble, maybe two counterspells away because he has some time.
Gotcha. So why, I guess, is there any reason why Mike hasn't been going to find combo pieces like a Raven's Familiar and start trying to get that in hand? Is it he's just really trying to control the board before he tries to even go that direction?
Yeah, I mean, without having the Aluren, and he is short of mana, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that's kind of the problem here.
Okay.
But without having access to the Aluren, then there's not really that much value in doing much
That makes
towards
sense.
that. It's much better for him to just continue to accrue resources, hit land drops. Yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly what Mike wants here.
A mana
Hitting
war
land
just to
drops is
reset.
great. Mana War is going to bounce the Angel, which puts Christopher now needs to take another turn off in order to play it out. So, ooh, that's a big
Is that
one.
Xantid Swarm?
That is Xantid Swarm, baby.
Drop that.
Okay, now
I'm just trying to
that's
see the match.
Oh, gotcha.
that's problematic. So if we don't have another Wrath of God,
So he's
which, okay, it looks like he has. Okay, that's fine. So I guess we're in fine shape. But again, as long as this survival remains in play, Mike can just recoup. The only thing that was slowing him down was the fact that he didn't have enough lands. But now that he's actually hitting his land drops, and now, with Chris just tapping out, this is looking like a pretty decent spot for Mike.
yeah. So I think did they just call time in the round there, Andrew?
I think they might say food is arrived for the people not playing anymore. I'll check.
Yeah, but we're gonna check. But there's a good point in chat here. This has been a long game. If Mike pulls this out, we're looking at a possible draw with this going into Game 3. So we'll have to see. Mike really starting to push into a good spot here.
Yeah, this is why I was so worried about the fact that Mike was kind of, I don't want to say wasting time in round 1, but kind of wasting time.
Yeah, and it sounds like we have
so I'm not super stoked about that. Like this was actually quite likely to happen.
All right, so 13 minutes left in the round, guys. So 13 minutes left in the round. So yeah,
Okay, so we have time still.
we have some
Okay,
time.
this is nice. This is the value. So
Ooh.
now we bounce the guy with Mana War, and we also get to play the Harpy. So now we're beating down, and we are effectively just returning the Mana War to our hand every single turn.
Yeah.
Now Mike is cooking.
Absolutely, he's able to control that board, and he can get in there for beats. He can do whatever he needs to do. It was that mana just holding Mike back from being able to do what he needed to do. That prohibit's going to be, not great, but he can still get through this. Discard a squee, go get another Mana War.
He's got mana. Doesn't have enough to cast it.
Maybe.
Raven.
And we see
Oh,
we see this is a perfect example of why I was so excited about building this deck, and why Aluren hasn't really found much success in the past. But now this version of Aluren actually has a lot of power because of survival. You know, like being able to play survival, it's such a huge deal,
Yes, it is.
and it really changes the entire landscape of what's possible to do with this deck.
I don't think I disagree with you at all. And it's a patience game. Like, Mike has done well to, like, fight through the various disruptions, taking his time, trying to put it through. It's impressive. So we can see an Angel coming in. Mike can take 4 down to 7. Gonna go up. Chris's life total really doesn't matter because once the thing does the thing, it's gonna be the thing.
Could have not put it in any better way, Will.
I mean, that's the best way I got it for my brain. We're in round 3. My brain is already starting to fry a little bit. Essentially, once Mike does his looping and everything, Chris's life total is not going to matter because he's going to be dead or in a position where just life doesn't matter.
Exactly.
That wasn't any better. I don't even know why I tried again. But we did. So Mike at 7, he's got to get it here relatively quickly though, both time wise and taking hits wise, because he has to pay. Is it 2 life?
Hits wise.
Yeah, taking 2 life every time he needs to bounce a mana war somehow, right? Without the Aluren. Because he has to bounce the Harpy to then bounce the mana war on the play, or am I not thinking about that right?
No, you're right. So it's 1 life to bounce the Harpy, and then just recast. And he has to recast it. So
Gotcha. Okay. So taking damage, a Spike Feeder gonna leave a little bit of time. All right, update our life totals here.
I'm surprised. It's much better for this Harpy to hang back, and you can block and then pay a life in order to prevent the life gain from happening at all, because the
correct.
Exalted Angel doesn't deal any damage. So that feels like a better thing to do in this scenario, which I'm surprised that Mike is not doing.
Yeah, Mike is at a 2 life at the moment.
It's down to 2 already.
Why did he not do that with blocking the Angel? That seems really... I mean, as a Spike Feeder.
Yeah, the Spike Feeder means that he's not like particularly close to dying.
That is correct.
It's more of a matter of, I don't know, feels like slightly more efficient or whatever, however you want to call it.
And he does need to close this out, though. I mean, like, it's getting to closeout time. He needs to find this, sideboard quickly, get to game 3. We are seeing the resilience of the Aluren deck, right? Like, this game state was not anywhere near this, a few turns ago, but it's slowly been put together. And you are right, Fran, that the survival was incredibly important to getting to, obviously, this game state where it is.
Yeah, and he is like 1 Aluren away from just winning. The combo has been assembled, and we're kind of just hoping that we get there in time. Basically, it's just not anything else. Like, the amount of value that he has assembled is not going to be easy for Chris to get back to keep up with.
Yep. Mike currently at 1 life, so he has to be careful about remembering to gain some life before, Yava, Mayakos, etc., etc. It's not inconsequential. Again, surprised he's attacking with all the flyers and not having a blocker for.
Yeah, I honestly
Angel.
at this point I don't know whether Mike understands that interaction.
I wonder, and it's
Like I would honestly just go as far as that.
well
Here, once again, the only card that matters is Counterspell, so I think you want to split everything against the Counterspell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, he's also
Source to
getting
Blushers
to,
doesn't do anything.
Mm-hmm. He's also getting to the point where, like, yeah, he can gain life from feeder, but like, it's only 4 life, and if he's not blocking, like, and more angels come down, like, it's not like some inconsequential amount of life that Spike Feeder holds off forever. And
Yeah.
now, I don't know. This is interesting. So we're gonna gain 4 life up to 5 for Mike. Do
I honestly think it's literally just that. Just Mike does not know that he can block and then pay a life in order to not take the damage from the to not take the damage, nor
okay.
actually why am I blanking on the word here? Take the damage or get the the life gain. That's what I was
Yeah,
thinking of.
absolutely. Yeah, he needs to gain. That's kind of an important one. Somebody should let them know that he needs to gain.
Are they at 23 to 1?
No, it's no. He gained 4 life from
Yeah, that's what I thought.
the Spike Feeder. So I'm not. There it is. He got it.
Yep.
We're there. Oh man, this is such a board state. Like, there's so much going on, trying to keep track of too, right? And is it a surprise he has not seen an Aluren yet?
I would not be surprised if some number of them got boarded out.
Okay. Just on the off chance he thinks, like, I'm just eventually going to find it through various filtering, etc.
Yeah, and he doesn't necessarily need the Aluren to win the game. Like, he can play more of a
It's turn
value
0.
There it is.
It's turn 0
kind of
right
game
now.
plan. But yeah, I mean, the problem is more than anything the fact that he
As long as Mike
he
doesn't screw up, it's
kind
going
of-
to be a draw.
Yeah.
he let too much time go by in the very first game. That's kind of the big issue.
Yeah, and they just called time in the round, so this is first turn of extra turn.
0.
So this is turn. This is
0.
turn 0. Sorry.
Yep.
So this will, if Mike executes, will be a draw. I would assume. I mean, not assume. I will tell you, it will be a draw.
Mike's at 4 from bouncing the Harpy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gotcha. All right. So
Man,
Okay, so
War.
now we do have the entire combo assembled. Chris has only a single card in hand, and I think that unless that card is specifically counterspell, we are now we're now done. Like,
Yeah.
Mike is now going to show the loop.
yeah, he'll show the loop. They'll end it up probably as that 1-1 draw. Yeah, that's how that's gonna go. An interesting match.
Yeah, super interesting.
Huh. So I wonder if he's
feeder.
so got the feeder, play the feeder, show the thing, do the thing, explain the thing. Mike, come on.
Yeah. So I guess this is just going to be a draw, which
Scoobity-scoop.
is
Yep.
sad.
Yep, scoop it up. So, guys, I can't imagine they're gonna try and play the next game, especially if time's called.
Yeah, time's called, and then minutes or turns they can't do another game.
Yep.
Just
Thank
finish
you for
active.
the subscription, Aaron Relentless. Guys, 288 viewers right now, by the way.
Wow.
288.
It's a lot of people.
We'll take it. And it's all because of the love for Premodern that we have. It's awesome. Another subscription from 8T3HDH.
I'll explain the combo.
Yes, while I fix some things, Fran, can you explain the combo to somebody in chat who is not aware?
Yeah, this is my favorite thing to do. So I actually wrote a primer on this deck. So if you want to learn about how the point got to the deck got to the spot where it is right now, I think that it's probably worth doing. But it's very, very exciting to me that this is like the get to this point of the deck took a lot of work and time. So it's very exciting to see it do what it is doing right now. The way that the deck works, and we kind of saw how it worked there in that game too. You get rid of your bad cards, and then you just play kind of like a fair style game.
Okay, so
So the fact that the deck can do that is actually super valuable, and that was the whole point of building the deck in this fashion. So
not gonna run you over, bud, but they're gonna try and get this in all their. Oh, sorry, they did not call time. There's a minute 30. So guys, it's not over yet. I'm sorry. There's
never mind then.
never mind. Let's go back at it. Let's
Okay.
go. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's see if we can finish this up.
All right. I thought I turned notifications off on my phone. It's probably nothing important. Anyway, all right. So they're going into game number 3. It's all right. Can this? So bird, okay. Can this win in like 3 turns?
Same stuff for either player, and this is like another one of the things that I like to do in post-hybrid games against control. Just get rid of all of these like birds and things that get swept up by counter magic. But it seems like Mike's list is not exactly the same one that I'm playing, so he may just be doing some other stuff. But yeah, so that game 1, we saw that Mike found himself in a situation where he was drawing dead swords to plowshares and things like that. And now he got rid of all of those cards that he doesn't want in the control matchup, and instead all of his cards are just pound for pound good. Like the deck was built so that pound for pound the cards can stand on their own, which was a problem that the previous Aluren lists kind of had, which is the fact that you would be in a situation where like you just have too many bad cards in your deck, mostly because you needed all the combo pieces. So what this version of the deck does is it changed the combo piece, so you don't have Soul Warden. Okay, so that's turn 0. So this is just going to be it. This is going to be a draw then. There's no way that Chris can win, and technically there's a way that Mike can win, but I don't think that Chris is going to let him. So
yeah,
if Chris does something silly, then Mike can win. But Chris 100% cannot win.
Yeah. So Chris will not have time to win. Mike sounds like he could, in theory, set up something to demonstrate the loop. At this point in extra turns, if he demonstrates the loop, there's unlimited time in the extra turn, correct?
Yeah, unless you do slow play. But
I mean, yes.
There's no real.
Yes,
way
but I
you're gonna
don't
go
think that Chris is simply not going to let him establish the loop. That is the thing.
Gotcha. I completely understand what you're saying now. All right, so
this time around, Medley Mage named Source to Plowshares. That's curious.
All right, I will change these life totals back. I need one of those fancy things like the Dress Crew has to just have a little thing on my side and like type.
I was thinking about doing the same.
Yeah. One of these days. I'm not fancy like them. We're old school. We like to type it all out. So what is that one? 18.
I mean, if he goes Aluren into combo, the game ends. So there's that. I don't think that Mike has it, but there was the potential of Mike to have it.
Gotcha.
And if he had, he would have just straight up won.
Yeah.
Because he had 3 cards in hand, and I think there's a Harpy there. So he was only an Aluren short of just straight up winning the game, which is pretty crazy
awesome
to think about.
I wanted to see it.
So Mike has 1 turn to go crazy.
One more turn.
Yeah, if he has a single counter,
there's one in hand. You can see it.
Yeah, he literally just stopped at the counter spell. So
Well,
we're going to be down here.
5.
Yep. Turn 5. Gotta try it. There's that. There's the counter spell, and there it is. All right, a 1-1 draw. Mike Harris on Aluren, Christopher Baviello here with 2 awesome decks. Fran, what did you think about that matchup?
It kind of went as I expected it to. It was, usually game 1s rely on how many Sylvan Laveries you draw compared to Swords to Plowshares, right? Because your Swords to Plowshares are going to be terrible and your Sylvan Laveries are going to almost single-handedly win the game. So the control matchup just kind of gravitates in that axis. And then post-sideboard, I think the Aluren deck gets better than the control deck overall. Still, like the control deck can just draw the cards in the proper order, and then that's obviously problematic for Aluren. But the fact that Chris's mana base was a little bit, not as forgiving as others, and the fact that Vindicated sorcery speed, Jira's Verdict is great, but a card like Vindicate can be not super great. You know what I'm
Sure.
saying?
Absolutely.
Sorcerer speed interaction against the deck that plays the Aluren and then wins that instant speed is not that valuable.
No.
But yeah, besides that, I think that it played kind of how you would expect, and we see Mike, cutting the Swords of Plowshares and that stuff, which makes a lot of sense.
Exactly.
But yeah, so I do think that this version of Aluren has a lot of promise. I've been very very happy with it, and didn't actually get to explain how the combo works. Again, like I wrote a primer, so if you're interested in going in detail, you can find it there. But I'll explain it real quick so that you get an idea. You have Aluren, so everything is free, right? Obviously, without that, there's no combo. So you have Raven Familiar and you have Harpy. What that means is that you will effectively draw your deck as long as for one life at a time. You will look at the top 3 cards of your deck, and then you will take one of them and put it into your hand. So you effectively get to draw your deck. Eventually, what you do is you find Mana War and Spike Feeder. So what you do is you play Spike Feeder, take a counter, you gain 2 life. You play Mana War, you bounce your Spike Feeder. You play Cavern Harpy with the trigger. You bounce your Mana War back to your hand, and then you pay 1 life to return the Harpy back to your hand. So this entire loop will net you 1 life every single time around. So you get to gain infinite life in this fashion. Then you repeat the exact same loop with Harpy, Mana War, and Wall of Roots. So what this does is it gives you infinite green mana. And then once you have infinite life and infinite green mana, what you do is you use the other ability on Spike Feeder, and you make all of your creatures arbitrarily large. And then what that does is from there you just attack your opponent. If you have any creature just like randomly hanging out in play, you get to kill them immediately. If you don't, you pass the turn, and you would think, but friend, what if your opponent kills you when they untap? To which I answer, yes, that is something that could happen, but that's really hard to make happen when you have 3 meddling mages in the main deck that can name whatever card your opponent could have that would kill you. So it's actually pretty. All the axes are covered, if I'm gonna put it somehow.
That makes sense. So what I'm hearing you say is play stasis, don't let them untap, and it's an okay day, right? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
That
awesome.
is exactly what you're supposed to do.
Absolutely. So, guys, that was it for round 3. Fran was joining us. We'll have more guests through the day. We're going to take a second to get a drink and stretch your legs before this round 4 starts up.
It'll actually be a little longer because we got our lobster roll showed up, so it's lunch break.
Absolutely. Lunch break is coming up. We're going to take time to do that. More guests coming. Guys, 270 viewers. We just got Demetria just donated 5 subs, tier 1 subs. Guys,
Thanks,
you
guys.
are amazing people. Fran, thank you so much for joining us. We'll hopefully catch you out through more of the day. Everybody take care. We'll see you very soon.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure.
Thank you.